Welcome to the Deep Dive, the place where we try to skip the noise and get straight to the knowledge that really matters.
Yeah.
And for most people, I think when you say the word investing, it conjures up, well,
Spreadsheets, stock market charts.
exactly. And maybe that annual risk tolerance questionnaire you have to fill out. We focus so much on the quantitative of the numbers.
And that focus, that single-minded focus, creates a massive blind spot. Our source material today is all about taking us beyond that balance sheet. We're here to show you that the factors that truly determine a successful, resilient financial plan, they're not always in the numbers.
So the things that can protect or even destroy your long-term wealth faster than any market fluctuation.
Precisely. They are profoundly qualitative. They're tied directly to your health, to your legal relationships, and even your fundamental beliefs.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Our mission today is to give you a complete holistic understanding of the 4 pillars of these personal factors that should inform every single financial recommendation.
Right. So we're talking your personal values, your specific health concerns, those pressing legal considerations, and the inherent personal risks we all face.
And if your plan isn't custom tailored to your entire life profile, it's just operating on incomplete data.
Exactly. The goal here isn't just to list facts. We want to provide actionable insights. We want to empower you, the listener, to look at your own financial setup with a really critical eye.
And as promised, we'll walk through that standard 3-question test that academics use to gauge basic financial literacy. It's a key part of your own internal risk profile.
A great starting point.
So let's start at the very foundation, personal values. This is, well, it's often the fuzziest area, isn't it?
It really is, and yet it dictates where your money actually goes.
We just assume everyone is hyper-focused on maximizing retirement savings.
That's the dominant goal in the industry, but our sources are clear that ambition isn't universally paramount. It just doesn't hold the top spot for everyone.
So your personal values create your own hierarchy of needs.
Exactly. For a younger family, maybe it's saving aggressively for a child's education or supporting an aging parent. That takes precedence over maximizing every dollar in an investment portfolio.
And for others, things like charitable giving could be a core purpose.
A core purpose requiring planned capital allocation before any personal wealth enlargement even happens.
And this translates into concrete action, right? This is where your values get exercised through choices like socially responsible investing, SRI.
Correct. Socially responsible investing. If you feel strongly about, say, environmental impact or corporate governance, that belief has to be integrated into your portfolio. It often shifts the entire investment mix.
So a good plan doesn't force you into a purely monetary box.
It absolutely shouldn't. It has to account for these non-monetary beliefs.
Okay, so values are the philosophical guideposts. But if we turn to the second pillar, health, we run into what you call the biggest potential financial destroyer. You said the greatest threat to wealth is poor health. Now that sounds more like a medical fact than a financial insight. Why is this a financial deep dive point?
Because the health risks that destroy wealth are often financial factors 5, maybe even 10 years before they become medical factors. The core insight is all about proactive funding.
Proactive funding.
Yes, an illness or injury, particularly later in life, can mean high-cost home care or facility care if you haven't earmarked adequate savings well in advance.
Those costs will just drain your liquid savings.
And erode the value of your entire estate. It happens fast.
But doesn't earmarking huge portions of your savings for potential care needs, doesn't that conflict with the goal of maximizing returns for a traditional retirement? How do you balance those two massive risks?
That is the crucial tension in modern planning. It really is. The key is to use the right financial tools to manage the risk of a catastrophic loss.
So this is where insurance comes in.
Exactly. This factor introduces critical insurance needs. For later life, we're talking about long-term care insurance. For earlier in life, it's things like disability insurance, which protects your income stream if you can't work.
Or critical illness insurance.
Right, which provides a lump sum payment.
And it's not just about you, is it? We often forget the financial drag that comes from caring for other people.
Oh, absolutely. We frequently see investment capital being needed to budget for, say, a disabled adult child, or resources used to pay for care for aging parents.
These are direct, immediate calls on your capital.
No question.
This issue of health also connects with our increasing lifespan. We are living longer, and that introduces this idea of mental capability risk.
It's critical. Demographics show it clearly. More people are living into their 80s and 90s, and that's where cognitive decline becomes a real possibility.
And these individuals still have to make really rational, complex decisions about their retirement income and their estates.
Yes, so the potential for mental capacity to be impaired means that advice needs to be handled with extreme care. Decisions need vigilant monitoring.
So advisors have to be ready to guide and sometimes intervene.
They do, spotting signs that decisions are inappropriate or maybe being unduly influenced. And that brings us perfectly to the next layer of protection, the legal framework.
Okay, let's transition to segment 2, legal obligations. Once you understand your values and you've quantified your health risks, the next step is protecting that whole structure with a legal bedrock.
Hmm.
And our source material is very clear. Legal obligations, so family law, wills, power of attorney, they have profound financial consequences.
They have to be factored into the investor profile. For many people, the biggest and often overlooked financial obligation relates to family law.
Divorce or separation.
Right. In most jurisdictions, there's a legal financial duty to equalize assets between spouses, and that includes all investment property accumulated during the relationship.
So every major asset, from a separate investment portfolio to a vacation home, could be subject to division. That would change your entire asset allocation instantly.
Instantly. And on top of that, the financial responsibility of parents to children, whether from a current or a previous marriage, that's non-negotiable.
So child or spousal support payments.
They have to be factored in as fixed long-term financial liabilities, and that constrains the disposable income you have for investing.
Then there's the foundation of the estate,
Yeah.
the will. Dying without a professionally prepared will, dying, and testate is just a costly legal disaster.
It costs time, money, and so much emotional capital. And it means your wishes might not be honored, but simply writing a will isn't enough.
The financial resources have to exist to back up the bequests.
That is a crucial detail. If you want to leave a specific asset, let's say a cottage, you have to ensure there's cash liquidity available to cover the related costs.
Like capital gains tax.
Exactly, the capital gains tax that might be triggered by that transfer.
So how do you guarantee that money's there, regardless of what the market is doing?
Well, sometimes you need an investment product that acts a bit like an insurance policy to cover those specific future liabilities.
Okay.
This is why some people choose investments with guarantees, like segregated funds or accumulation annuities. The key feature is that they are insurance-based contracts.
And that often gives them creditor protection.
Right, and it ensures a payout or a floor guarantee is there to cover a specific liability like that tax bill when the time comes.
That functionality is the important takeaway there. Let's move to maybe the most urgent document for today's living, the power of attorney, or POA, for property.
The POA. It's a legal tool that nominates an attorney.
And just to be clear, that's not always a lawyer.
No, not at all. It's typically a trusted family member or a friend. And they're nominated to manage your financial affairs when you are temporarily or permanently incapacitated.
Often because of a medical crisis.
Yes. And the powers granted can be immense. They can include the ability to switch and even sell investments to pay for necessary expenses.
That is immense control for a single person. What's the safety mechanism we need to know about?
It's crucial to understand the limitations. For instance, an attorney is generally restricted from changing life insurance beneficiaries. But the serious warning, and this requires every listener's attention, is the risk of abuse.
Financial exploitation.
It is a major growing problem, and POA fraud is a criminal offense. The powers are so vast, meaning the level of trust and caution required when you select an attorney must be absolute.
That's a very stark warning.
Yeah.
Let's move to our final category, navigating inherent personal risks. These are the risks that live inside your own profile, faced by every investor, no matter what the market does.
Job loss, bankruptcy, longevity, and low financial literacy.
Let's start with literacy.
Okay. Financial literacy is defined as having the knowledge, skills, and confidence to make responsible financial decisions. Illiteracy, a lack of understanding of basic concepts, is a risk factor in itself.
I can see how that would swing wildly. If you don't know the basics, you either become paralyzed by fear and earn nothing, or you become reckless and lose everything.
That's exactly it. It leads either to unnecessarily low risk tolerance, which results in very low returns that don't keep pace with inflation,
Or the opposite.
or conversely to an inappropriately high risk tolerance, which can lead to catastrophic losses. Assessing this literacy is paramount for getting suitable advice.
All right, let's test the knowledge of our listeners. This is that standard three-question test used to assess basic financial concepts. So grab a mental pen and paper.
We'll read the question, and we encourage you to pause for a moment to consider your answer before we reveal the core concept.
Question 1, and this tests compounding. Suppose you had $100 in a savings account, and the interest rate was 2% per year. After 5 years, how much do you think you would have in the account if you left the money to grow? More than $102, exactly 102, or less than 102?
The concept measured here is compounding, and the correct answer is more than $102. You earn interest on the original 100 and on the interest from prior years.
Question 2. This one's about inflation risk. Imagine the interest rate on your savings account was 1% per year and inflation was 2% per year. After 1 year, how much would you be able to buy with the money in this account? More than today? Exactly the same. Or less than today?
This tests inflation risk and your purchasing power. The answer is less than today. If inflation outpaces your return, the purchasing power of your money has gone down.
Even if the dollar amount went up a tiny bit.
Correct.
And finally, a true or false on diversification. Buying a single company's stock usually provides a safer return than a stock mutual fund. True or false?
And that is false. A single stock is almost always riskier than a diversified stock mutual fund, which spreads risk across many companies.
So if those concepts felt tricky, the key takeaway is simple. Demand clarity.
Always. Never let an advisor use jargon or acronyms without a complete explanation. Make them say marginal tax rate instead of MTR.
That clarity is vital. Let's talk about a risk we are all facing due to medical advances. Longevity risk.
Longevity risk is simply the risk of running out of money because you live longer than your savings plan anticipated. And we are living much longer.
Right.
Back in the mid-90s, the average life expectancy was around 78.4 years. By 2020, that number jumped to 82.3 years.
That's nearly 4 extra years of retirement you have to fund.
4 additional years of expenses, your savings have to stretch further than ever before.
So how do you mitigate a risk like that?
You have to focus on securing lifelong income. This often means using investment products designed for this, like a life annuity, which converts a lump sum into a guaranteed income stream for life.
Or something called a GLWB.
A guaranteed lifetime withdrawal benefit. It's an optional rider on an annuity that ensures you get income for life no matter how the underlying investments perform. It creates a guaranteed income floor.
Let's discuss leveraging risk. We understand leverage when it's common and safe, like taking out a mortgage for a home. But when it's applied to investments, the dynamic changes dramatically.
It creates a major danger zone. When you use borrowed money to invest in non-guaranteed assets, say, taking a line of credit to dump into a highly volatile tech stock, your risk is magnified.
So if that stock loses value,
You lose your principal, and you still have to repay the entire loan with interest. Leverage magnifies returns when things go well, but it magnifies losses when they don't.
a critical warning. Now let's quickly address the remaining risks. First, job loss.
Job loss requires an immediate review of your entire investment profile. Your saving plans might have to go on hold, and you may need to access emergency capital.
Which means those funds need to be liquid and accessible.
Not tied up in long-term volatile investments.
What about bankruptcy risk?
Well, good financial management is always the primary defense. But certain investments are structured to mitigate this by choosing creditor-protected investments, like those segregated funds we mentioned.
Because they're insurance contracts.
Right. You can shield some of those assets from bankruptcy proceedings.
And finally, the importance of an emergency fund for unforeseen expenses.
This is a practical reality check. We often assume provincial health plans cover everything, but they don't. An emergency fund is necessary for those unexpected medical bills. Prescriptions, dental work, therapeutic aids that can stop you from disrupting your long-term savings.
So what does this all mean when we put the pieces together? The core takeaway seems clear. A truly robust investment plan isn't a spreadsheet. It's a detailed portrait of your entire life.
It has to be. It captures your deepest values, your specific health risks, your legal duties to family, and your inherent capacity to handle financial complexity.
This knowledge is really about shifting your perspective.
It empowers you, the learner, to assess your own profile holistically and critically question your current financial setup. If your financial plan doesn't accurately reflect these personal realities, especially the risks we just discussed, then it's fundamentally incomplete.
And here's a final provocative thought for you to chew on. Given the dramatic increase in longevity we discussed, and the corresponding growing risk of cognitive decline we're seeing in the baby boomer generation, The proactive creation and clear execution of a power of attorney for property is arguably the single most critical, yet often delayed, piece of planning. When you consider the vast powers granted to the attorney and the fact that financial exploitation and POA fraud are criminal offenses, how much critical attention do you think your legal documents truly deserve right now?